Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Nick and Knarf, two brothers in Tucson, Arizona, trying to bring you great music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. Today, we're going to be doing one of the greatest groups in American history, especially if you think about their first three albums. We're talking about Boston.
Great Boston from Boston, Massachusetts. Where else? But first of all, I got to welcome back my bro, Nick. He's feeling much better, and he wants to, I know he wants to thank all of you guys for your support.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words, prayers from some of you, great thoughts, and I'm just glad to be back here with brother Frank pushing out some music.
That's right. How's Rox doing? You doing good?
Yeah, wife's doing better. My son's doing better as well. It wasn't a terrible case of it, but, you know, everybody's getting these variants, so here I am.
He's back with me, and we're back together again to bring you some great stuff. And today, we had been thinking about doing Boston for a while. You know, we've been, kicking it around. And today, we just felt it. Right, Nick? We felt it.
Yep. In 1976, I was living with three other guys. Three of us were musicians, and another buddy, John, who's actually commenting on this channel now and then. And I don't know who bought it. It was probably John, because he lived in Boston for a while. And he brought out this album from Boston, their first album, which goes on to make music history. I mean, we're talking 17 million albums sold.
One of the greatest debuts, right, of all
everywhere
time.
You went, you heard these songs, and you know what? You didn't care because they were so damn good, you wanted to keep hearing them over and over and over again.
It's a classic, great album. I mean, top to bottom, there isn't a bad song on this album. Just so fabulous. All of them have become iconic. Just broke through and dominated for probably a year at least. This album dominated the charts everywhere. They're playing it everywhere.
And you're talking about discouraging. You know, I was a singer, and I'm listening to this guy sing, and I'm going, okay, forget about it. I'm not getting into the industry. Who can sing like this guy? And by this guy, I'm talking about Brad Delp, who was the lead singer, who eventually had some problems and committed suicide in the early 2000s. But tragic. What a phenomenal group made up of Barry Goudreau, Tom Scholz. Tom Scholz played like literally every instrument on the album. Sib Hashian and Fran Sheehan. So if you ever watch their music videos, they're all five usually on there. That was like from 1978. But they formed in the early 70s. First album debuted in 76. And we're going to be listening to one of the songs off of that album.
Yeah, the one Nick chose for off the first, the debut album, which is which one, Nicky?
I don't know, man. They were all so damn great. Who gives a crap? I said, just pick one. No, that's not true. I think I said Hitch A Ride.
Yeah.
Hitch A Ride. I mean, More Than a Feeling. I mean, just forget it. Any of these songs on this album is so good. More Than a Feeling played everywhere.
We wanted to do something a little bit deeper. Nick loves the song. I love the song too.
Love it, man.
And I picked the song off the second album, which came out in 1978. Don't Look Back, and we're doing the title cut from that album. Don't Look Back is one of my favorite Boston songs.
And from what I remember, first of all, the production on this album is so damn good. You can make out every note of the acoustic guitar, of the electric guitar. The drums are just... The sound levels are just so perfect. It's such a well-composed album. And then the vocals just make every song that much greater.
Absolutely. It's a great album. So we're going to get into it right now. But before we do, let me remind you again, my little litany here. Please subscribe, like, and share if you haven't. If you like what you're going to hear, please do it. And for you who have, thank you so much for your support. You can leave us comments. We answer every comment. But I'm ready to get into the Nick selection
Almost
today.
every comment. I don't know.
Almost. Well, pretty much everything, but we try to. Anyway, we're ready to enjoy some great music from Boston. So here it is, Nick's selection from the debut album. This is Hitch A Ride. Boston.
You better.
Day is night in New York City. Smoke like water runs inside. Still out of trees to pity every living thing that's died. Gonna hitch a ride, head for the other side. Leave it all behind, never change my mind. Gonna sail away, sunlight's another day. Freedom on my mind, carry me away for the last time.
You know, the comparison I have is to Toto, the group Toto.
Yeah, sounds like lovely.
Jeez. The tone on that guitar. Okay, so they tell themselves, let's sit down and write a recipe for a great song. Well, let's have some nice, really nice acoustic guitar. Let's throw this mean organ in there. Great lead, some really good drum riffs, the bass. Oh, and let's put some hand clapping in there. And then we know exactly when it's supposed to change a little bit for dramatic effect, and then that crazy singer's vocals. I mean, come on.
What a great choice, Nick. I mean, I haven't heard this song in a while, and to hear it again,
Yes.
and all those layers, how it's soft, like starts as a ballad, and then, like you said, busts into this amazing lead with organs, like a power song, and then it shifts again into a lyrical ballad again, and then multiple guitar leads on the outro and everything.
And then, as well as in, of course, More Than a Feeling, when they come in with that, after they've made all this ruckus and they've changed your life, they bring in this really soft acoustic guitar just playing so beautifully. And did you notice just the tone levels of each instrument, how well they were interposed with one another? They were just, it was just so perfectly engineered.
It's just an exquisitely crafted song too. I love the interlacing
Sickly
so
good.
many movements and emotions, and as the song moves forward, it takes you in so many places.
Oh,
Such
it does.
gorgeous- I'm so glad we chose that instead of doing one of the the more obvious cuts, because this one is a hit in its own right, but it's always been a deeper cut that didn't get a lot of play like the other ones did. But what a great choice, Nick.
Oh,
Great
it meant to
choice.
say too, 75 million records, if I didn't mention that before. 75 million. They only did like 5 or 6 albums.
Albums they did.
You know,
They did 2 albums in the 70s, 1 in the 80s,
Yeah.
1 in the 90s, 1 in the 2000s, and 1 in the 2010s. Can you believe that?
You know, and it just goes to show you, when you come up with almost perfection like they did on their first album, how hard is it to stay creative? You know, we've talked about this in the past with Steely Dan, the Beatles, the Beach Boys, the Stones. Pick your band. How hard is
excellence.
it to have sustained excellence? That is so difficult to do, yet they did it. Their first 3 albums are impeccable.
Outstanding.
Impeccable.
Yeah. Anyway, what did you guys think of Hitch a Ride? Isn't it a gorgeous song? A great selection from Nikki here. We are going to pick our second selection here in just a second here. It's Boston Don't Look Back from the title track from the second album from 78. We're going to take a little intermission because I got to change the CD. So we will be right back with Boston number 2. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for your patience during our brief intermission while I change the CD. This next song by Boston is one of my favorites, really, favorites of all their catalog, but especially from this album, the second album, which is also outstanding. I mean, maybe it doesn't quite measure up to the debut album, but still outstanding in so many, many ways. And this first song was the big hit from the album and a great, great tune. So without further ado, let's get into it. This is Boston with Don't Look Back from the album Don't Look Back. So nice right here. This shit sounds like Rush, doesn't it, a little bit?
God, the tone. The background vocals. Jeez. Oh, that bass line there. Ooh. Masters.
Wow.
They are masters of engineering, masters of creating tempo and changing tempo, of emphasizing instruments, and their vocals are impeccable.
You're really right about one big thing that I really know is how can they integrate different styles of licks and musical sections of a
Unreal.
song and mesh them together into a complete whole. I mean, they sound like they're separate things from different places, but when they put it together, it all fits into this fluid whole. It's
and
just
that,
great.
and that, Frank, it takes me on to "Carry On My Wayward Son" by Kansas. It's a great song, but it doesn't connect. I mean, as great as that song, it doesn't connect as well as these guys bring it back together. I mean, "Carry On" sounds like 3 or 4 completely different songs. It can sound like different songs, but they're fully integrated. It just makes sense somehow.
It's just brilliantly conceived, these first couple of albums. I mean, just a remarkably unique sound that just took the country by storm back in 76 and 78. I mean, everybody we knew was listening to these Boston
albums. If this doesn't make you want to listen to like their first 3 or 4 albums, just in toto. Speaking of Toto, that's another group that reminds me of Boy.
I saw you heard me say it sounded like Rush in that one
It
part.
did sound like Rush.
You know,
It really did. A combination of Toto, Rush, and I'm going to say a little Kansas. I don't know why, but I'm going to just say Kansas in there. It reminded me.
But yeah, there may be some hints here.
But man, they just constructed these songs so well.
Well, it was just great. What 2 great selections. What did you guys think of our choices today?
How do you like Boston? Did you see them?
Never did. I don't know if John did. John, tell us if you saw him.
Oh,
man.
John
He
probably
must have seen
did.
him. Just incredible music from and such few records, but such a big legacy from a great band.
This song used to make our house, the windows just were breaking almost. I mean, I think I mentioned it in the past, my friend Rich and then John, of course, they play music so loud, it would literally make the windows and walls shake, but who cares? They were so great.
We hope your ears are rocking because we're caring for them, and we just thank you for being with us today. Remember, if you haven't, please subscribe, like, and share. If you love what we're doing, if you love what we're trying to bring, be a part of the journey with us.
And please come to Boston.
That's right. That's a different song. But we want to thank you again for joining us today on another episode of Nick and Knarf. Glad to have my bro back with me, and we're glad to bring it to you. So until next time, we're signing off. Nick and Knarf.
Ciao.
Bye-bye, babes.